is Sergio Patricio. I'm Bachelor in Arts. I'm a stage designer from the University of Chile. I have a Master in Art and Science, and I'm a Doctor in Philosophy from the Angewandte von Kunst in Vienna, Austria. So this is more or less my background, and today I'm gonna talk about the weft. Then is this idea and is this presentation about in the frame of the time-based media arts and cross art practices. So the weft refers to waving, the cross-white threads in the loom over and under which other threads the warp are passed on to make clothes. And the concept of art, it could refer to a cross-disciplinary education in art academies where disciplines and different fields comes together, like aesthetics and art history, or issues and lectures about color, space, and compositions, for example. Sometimes this is conceived wrong from perspective, understanding arts today as practice and ecology that cross different seas of knowledge. My own practice is defined as a performance, and my investigation in some topics is the result of exploration in situ by body-based research, in resistance with topics like embodiment, individuation, and politics of collaboration. The limitation of the definitive of my own perspective resulted in my art practice forcing me to cross my own sea of knowledge, or my ocean of knowledge, in a ship of ideas to find another entity to connect and build cross practice together. To understand and agree on some definitions before starting to unbuild the thread of web, I will leave here some points to discuss forms of art practices, and practitioners, for example. How to define something that resists definition. However, performance art definition could be a type of art, a form that involves the live presentation, the event of a work, then is an act with goals, then often incorporates elements of theater, music, dance, and the visual arts, mediated actions and actions as media as well. So, in order to zoom out the performance practice, time-based media art definition is called to play of a fundamental role in detection of knowledge that emerge from mediated actions made enacted by this particular art form. So, time-based media arts refer to artworks that relied on time as a fundamental element and presented using electronic media such video, film, and interactive installation. Time can be used to structure the progression of an installation or performance, for example. In general, how we perceive and conceive time is a concept that refers to a progression of events, and the measurement of this progression is units, such as seconds, minutes, and hours. Time perceptions refer to the way that we experience and understand time, and our time can be used as a medium on elements in various ways. So time can be subjects of matter, of a work of art, for example. An artist might create a series of paintings that explore the passage of time and cycles of nature. As a structural element, time can be used structurally in art such as music, where the organization of sounds in time is a fundamental aspect of a medium. And visual art, time can be used to structure the progression of installation or performance. But as a medium, time-based media art, such as film, video, and interactive installations, use time as a medium in and it all itself, yeah? So this form of art relied on the passage of time to create meaning and engage the viewer. In all the cases, the way that time is experienced and perceived by the viewer can be an important aspect of the work of art. For example, the viewer perceptions of the passage of time can be manipulated through the usage of techniques such as looping or slow motion. I hope it helps to clarify the concept of time in art. Interactive outcomes of the time-based media art practice can request an active position from the audience, becoming more than only a passive viewer, such as games or even integrated actions integrated into the action of one planned event, for example. So performance art and time-based media art have a long history and have contributed significantly to the development of contemporary art. So many artists have found this form of being powerful and effective ways of expressing themselves and communicating their ideas. And they have played a role in shaping the art world and cultural landscape as well. So whether or not this form so far continue to be practiced in the future, it will depend on the interest and support of future artists and audience as well. Yeah. So the important activity that is part of this practice of times are focused on sharing and experiences with themselves, with others, and with the rest, connecting or disconnecting, from my perspective. So perhaps the internet will shape the futures of performance art and time-based media art, but it's hard to predict. However, it's likely this development will continue to have an impact on how the forms of art are shared and experienced. So the weft basically more or less refer to the networking and cross practices in art and other oceans of knowledge. I prefer to call them oceans of knowledge because I cannot fields of knowledge, because it can go deeply not into research only, but it's also into the connectivity that they have. So it is a particular form of art that requires to hold time and long-term projects to develop way of transactions and establish way of diplomacy between the practitioners as well with the viewers and audience. So it's a connection between all the factors that get involved. So long-term diving in a deep connection requires more attention and awareness, especially the ones that are related with body-based research, and particularly the ones that relied on time as a medium with the usage of technology and multimedia formats to be presented live in the case of performance art, for example. So then the presentation more as a dialogue of theory is a speculation about the future of these practices in terms of cultural impact and sustainability. The questions and exceptions call to reflect the status of these practices within the facilitation and educators and practitioners related to time. So artistic research nowadays in time-based media art and art practices is part of a biosphere of art education and ecology that develops creative strategies to question structures within this social cultural realm. In that thinner layer of exploration, artistic research makes an emphasis on the production of new knowledge, of course. But moreover, within that context, time-based media art results from many art practices using a diversity of media that includes performance and actions. Those very particular ones requires a more particular lens of observation based on multiple observatory perspective and a particular lens to analyze the weft of factors involved. So then this studies and practice could help institutions to request long-term relationships between students, lecturers, institution practitioners, and cultural facilitators. To reach this goal, art institutions request to call for slow-down practices. So I argue this because it's a framing to the fast society of non-stop and infinite content request. Reaching the goal of a deep connection between body-based researchers and practitioners need a deep investigation to accomplish long-term artistic research, for example. So therefore, the weft, out-body-based researcher, rather than crossing artistic practices to observe weft, will need a large and extensive scrutiny of across bodily practices to find the light in art education and a long-term embracement of new knowledge to acquire a deep understanding of these cross practices, what I'm talking about. So even more, it requires a content update of a model of education, as well as a cultural infrastructure where the stream of this squeezes new knowledge resulting in making possible adaptive and responsive art practices. So, for example, performance art is a type of activity that involves a live presentation. Let's make it more easy, often incorporating elements of theater, music, dance, and visual art. But performance art within the time-based media art refers to an art practice that is inscribed in the field of artworks and relies on time as a practice presented using electronic media such as video, film, interactive installations. Ultimately, a combination of factors that can change over the time, all the time as well. So, it could be difficult to imagine how technology will impact and evolve. That increasing use of virtual and augmented reality technology could change how audience interacts with the time-based media art, as well as the art market, environmental and sustainable choices decided by economic factors can demand different type of art and can also affect the value of an artistic work as well. So then bodily practice then deep connect by the embodiment of investigating concepts and questions through diving in a fresh and oceans of knowledge will request a system of translation into a cultural frame where appears and stream the content for a passive, active viewer audience. So this is one of the risks, for example, of VR and AR-based media art. Then the real and reality will second guess the vulnerability and sensitive risk of one singular experience involved in a particular encounter, for example. When a web of these peculiar human bodies encounter each other, basically. Speculating about the future of time-based media art can open possibilities about the access, analysis, and political perspective that include, for example, transactional and radical care, transformation, how to do connections, what are the roles of these bodies in the social engage, and the feedback from society and other science fundamental reality observations can emerge again, and new questions about terminology and the set different notions. So what body-based research looks like could be a question, and what is the difference between community-based practices and connecting bodily practices, for example. How this kind of artistic research reimagines society, how identify this historical trauma, and embodies are colonized in many different aspects. For example, can be the question that these practices could reach in the weft of connecting so deeply. And my personal opinion can result from connecting deeply within researching with the body is a better understanding of each other, how we experience transferring knowledge, for example. Thank you very much.